Navy veteran studying here at Syracuse University, graduating here in a week. I have with me a few other student veterans, ranging from undergrad, grad, and a PhD student. And we're just here to talk about current events and what our opinions are. And so I'll go introduce first Jose. Go introduce yourself. Tell me a little about yourself. What you did in the military. What about you here?
All right, Jose Baeza, also finishing up here in about a week. USMC veteran of about 5 years. Now I'm studying business analytics.
Fantastic.
My name is Derek Ramos, USMC veteran, 1812, M1A1 tank crew member. I'm currently a PhD student in physics here at Syracuse University.
We keep going. Marine veteran. My name's Rafael Gromas. I was in the Marines for about 9 years, graduating here shortly with forensic science and psychology.
Hey, I'm John Nipper. I'm a graduate student here at Syracuse. I'm getting my MPA, and I also got my undergrad here in international relations.
Great, yeah. And I'll be graduating here in a week exercise science, health and exercise science. And I'm currently between law school or PT school, either here at SU Law or at USC DPT school. And everybody seems to be either going to higher education or career field. But a lot of campuses right now have an encampment. And so I personally believe they're not accomplishing anything. But I have read that their goal is to have the university divest a lot of things they have over there. That's my opinion. What are you guys' opinion?
He's like, welcome to the podcast.
I know, right? We're going to have you.
It's tough. I don't know where to begin.
I mean, I don't know. Like, I think of it for like both sides. Like, it's their First Amendment right. At least here at Syracuse, it's not like other universities. They're not getting rowdy. They're not being, aggressive or anything like that. So that's fine. They have that right to do that. But yeah, I agree. Like, it's what they're doing is almost like very little in the overall scheme of things. I don't agree on either side of it, and I don't understand either side of it either. But at the same time, like, they're not going to be making waves or anything. I don't think, anyways.
Yeah. This one, you said this one is a lot more peaceful. From my understanding, from what I read, the administration came out and said, because we're a private school, they said you cannot say all these things. You'll have severe consequences. Schools like UCLA, totally different story. It's trashed. They've had people in the city who are not students just paid protesters to go in there. So at one point, the majority was paid protesters from the city, not even students. And like some of the people were tasing people, and it was a big ordeal.
Is this like a confirmed thing? People are getting paid to protest?
Yeah, no way.
Hey, you gotta do something in LA, man. You gotta make that money somehow.
Well, like the ones that came here on campus too, it's not all students. Some of it's actually like members from like outside of like Syracuse that like organize this, and then they've gone to like when President Biden was here, they came and protested him there when he did the whole Micron thing.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
I know about this.
so it's not just students.
Yeah.
What do you think their goals are that they're trying to do?
Well, I know one of the majority or the most popular one is to divest funds going to Israel, which I know a lot of private universities are like fond of doing. So I know that's like one of the big ones.
That seems to be the biggest one that I
Yeah.
feel like this is what they're doing. And some of the other schools have been successful at that. There have some schools that were successfully causing them to divest their investments of the endowment funds in like Israel. So they might be able to do something like that here if they're big enough or loud enough, but it also doesn't seem like they're not big enough and loud enough, like you were saying. It's very much peaceful here. So I don't know if they're really all in to do that, or if it's more like a performative here, or if they would be willing to do what it takes on other universities to achieve those goals, or if that really is their goal.
I know some
It's
schools
interesting.
like there's what school was it? I think Brown University was one that was a very peaceful protest, and they were successful in getting whoever's in charge of the schools to stop sending funds to Israel. It's something they
really?
agreed upon, yeah.
Wow.
Like really fast. I don't know the
That's crazy.
timeline, but I just know that I think within a couple, like a week or two maybe, they were able to communicate with whoever's in charge of Brown and stop the investment into Israel.
Yeah, so I think
Yeah.
that there is a possibility of some sort of stuff happening, right, with protests. I don't know what that is and how that looks like, but it doesn't seem like it's always going nowhere, doing nothing. So that's for what that's worth. That's interesting. I don't know if this is going to go anywhere like that.
Do you guys think the vast majority of students who are protesting, parents are paying for the tuition?
I think a vast majority of college students in general, parents are paying for the tuition and or financial aid of some sort. I don't think most college age students have the money in the pocket to pay for their own education. I think that's the vast minority of students. So yeah, by definite, like just by that, I think.
Well, I understand what you're saying. I was just thinking like as someone who like just there are students here that just tried really hard in high school and they come from underprivileged areas and they just have like a full ride or close to full ride. I can't imagine any of them who just got here in that encampment to risk everything for something that is gonna affect them.
It's very hard to say, to be honest. I don't know. I know Syracuse is one of these schools that, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think anybody that went to high school within this region can come to Syracuse for free.
Nah,
To that effect, yeah.
no way.
Yeah.
that
If you're like
say
a
that again?
Syracuse, if you're a Syracuse native, like you grew up in Syracuse, you went to high school in Syracuse, I think you could come to the school for free.
Oh, that would be really cool.
I think so.
Yeah.
I would have to like double check that. But from what I've heard and from what I understand, this is
They have a similar thing where I'm from in Florida, where you pretty much have reciprocal access to like any school in the state Florida system if you went to community college in Florida. So I got my AA at community college, and I pretty much had like guaranteed admission into like FGCU, which was like the regional school. So they had a partnership like that. So that would make sense.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
This is going on in you guys' lives right now. Jose, you're the only one that's going to the workforce after. What's that experience like?
Yeah, going to the workforce. So that means that's just another way of saying I'm unemployed. I think it's interesting just because I've kind of always experienced this state of transition. You know, you graduating out of high school, going straight into the military was not just this hard pace, pick up my diploma, ship out the next day. It was months on end waiting for my opportunity. And that was just because I ended up doing what I like to do in the military. Coming out of the military, I always thought I was going to be going into contracting. Even though my original goal for going to the military was to earn my education, I enjoyed what I did so much that I wanted to do contracting work afterwards. So coming here was actually the plan B to going back into the workforce. Now that I'm finishing up here, the idea of going back is just another gray area, which I'm not saying I'm comfortable with, but I'm familiar with it.
Yeah, I think a lot of veterans or a lot of people who are successful thrive in gray areas. I think they thrive in areas they're not comfortable. And I feel that makes you more successful. None of us are from Syracuse. Derek's from New York, but he's like not from upstate New York. You're from the city.
No, I'm
It's a-
from
it's a whole
just
different
outside the
beast.
city.
Yeah. So I feel like, and we all like, did pretty well here, and I feel like because none of us are here, we have to figure it out. And we noticed the people, even the veteran side, we noticed the people who couldn't figure it out, and they're no longer here, which is unfortunate. But I think if you thrive in that area, overall, it'll be better.
Right. I think to that, there's this intangible ability that you see a lot in the veteran community of not necessarily a stick-to-itiveness, it's just an ability to recognize opportunity that isn't put on a platter for you. You mentioned not everyone has gone to this stage with us, but I think that a lot of those are just sort of personal decisions, and it's not for lack of ability or lack of effort. We always talk about we bring something different into the classroom that is not necessarily seen throughout the rest of the student body. I think it's because we understand we carry a level of responsibility because we've been entrusted, we've been held accountable, and we've been made responsible for other things before. So now that we're responsible for ourselves here, the idea is, you know, you're comfortable in the uncomfortable, or you're more familiar with, you know, having to pick up after yourself, regardless of what it is. I remember coming here not thinking I would ever be in touch with the veteran community or with any military-connected students. Just the idea was, I'm going to be here 2 to 3 years, and I'm going to treat this like my job. And I think that's kind of a similar mindset. Not necessarily the same mindset, but a similar mindset that a lot of military-connected students here have.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. That's exactly how I would describe my time here. I mean, the comfortable being uncomfortable part, and then also the treating it like what in my words, a deployment, right? So in my head, coming to university was like going to a new military base, right? And so I like set up shop here. I'm not going to leave very much unless I need to go do something and go on an adventure with my friends, right? So, but I live here. This is my encampment. This is where I live, right? And so, and then I just identified with Syracuse. So I like put on all the Syracuse gear. I just jumped in. I tried to take on as much responsibility as I could here. Like I just made this my deployment. And that's just all I know how to do. It's not even because like I was like, oh, this will make me successful. I just don't know how to do anything else. And then the comfortable and uncomfortable part was really salient to me as well, because I think that really helped me. For all the things that being in the military is sometimes makes you disconnected from the rest of the population at a university. I think in this case, it's allowed me to be uncomfortable because like I've never been able to just relax and be like, hey, this is my job. I have a 9 to 5. I'm going to sit here. Right. There's always been some sort of crisis or some sort of PCS or deployment or 3-month rotation somewhere doing something new. And so the ability to take that idea and then inject it into a 3-month semester over and over again with, summer deployments here or going abroad there or doing a, DC internship or whatever it is, that sort of kind of chaos is at home to me. And so I think that in that aspect, it was very satisfying to switch over and doing something that I found meaningful, like higher education.
No, I think what everyone said too, but like to go off of like what Jose's like responsibilities, I don't think it's just being a veteran, but just like being older. It's like, okay, you're an adult, you've been out there in the real world, like you've done stuff and all that. Like it's kind of like expected or like in society is like the older you get, the more mature you are. Like you're supposed to handle responsibility better and better and not be like immature. So like doing tasks, aka assignments or homework and stuff like that, like that's kind of they expect you to do that, but they also like are looking for you to be like truthful as well, or like at least forthcoming with like information if you're struggling with stuff and that. And then I don't know, then the relationship becomes reciprocal. Like, but I think professors really like that, and I think they like that because we're willing to have that conversation, or we're willing to kind of not put ourselves out there, but like we're willing to step up and be like, hey, I don't know what's going on, or like just ask like how the professors are doing, like and building some sort of relationship. And like there are other students doing that, but I think a lot of kids coming out of high school, they're here to hang out with like their peers. They don't want to they don't want to talk with the professor or anything like that.
Hey Derek,
How's it going?
future physicist of the White House.
Nerd.
Wow, that's,
I just
that's a
heard nerd.
steep mountain to climb.
Secretary to the Department of Energy.
Yeah. How is a student relationship with a professor in a PhD program?
Oh,
That's
that's
a
good question.
rigorous one, like physics.
Well, I think in my case it's a little bit different because I did my undergraduate here. So I have some sort of relationship with the professors before coming into this program. I think now that I'm a grad student, there's another layer of complexity to it in which now I'm even more required to understand things and, approach these professors with questions because now it's more of a one-on-one relationship. Instead of being in a classroom with 120 people, I go to being in a classroom with like 10 people. So now those professor-student relationships are a little bit more complex. So it's, in the beginning, it's a little bit difficult to navigate, even though, like Raf said, we have this experience of already understanding what to do and how to approach people of higher, status or like positions and things like that. So it's just, I don't know, learning and going with it, going with the flow. So far, it's been going well. So, yeah.
I had a thought. Going back to the idea of how, we carry ourselves a little bit differently being older. I remember in my, hiatus between exiting active duty and eventually coming here, the perception I had about what I would be experiencing was like that Adam Sandler meme from the movie. He's a giant 5th grader. And so the idea was, people coming out of the military, we had this idea like, oh, I'm just stuck at 18 years old. Like the last 5 to 8 years were just kind of a blur. And I didn't actually, I was never actually part of the real world. But then you go into the classroom and you're just like, oh, nope, I'm different. This is fine. All right. I've always felt it was like more like of a mixed bag coming here. Every once in a while I would get, oh, I didn't think you were that old. I thought you were like, older, but not like, I'm like, yeah, no, I'm 26. You could say it.
Which is crazy because 26 is not that old at all.
No.
It's not that
No.
old at all.
Well, my knees will tell you different.
Well, I'm 31, and I get people telling me they thought I was 40. So
Oh, wow.
I think that's the way you dress though, more than
yeah,
you look.
that could possibly be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you have that very sophisticated look going on every day, except for today.
Well,
You had that Charlie Sheen look going on for sure.
that's true. But it's like summer break, so.
Yeah.
I'll give you my moisturizer too. Maybe that'll help.
Oh, that's true. Maybe I need to get the old man skin going on.
I don't know.
So guys, what's going on in the world that has thrown you off a little bit? You read like, damn, that's crazy.
Dude,
Man, where do we begin? It's a
Yeah,
long list.
honestly, that's like it's so easy to just disassociate from the rest of the world because it's just like ever since I feel like we've been adults, it's been one catastrophe after another, and every news cycle is just loaded with. Well, it's an election year, so we can talk about that, and then even the breaks from talking about like the election would just be like school shooting, mass catastrophe. So this is this and going on. That's why I've gotten really into like sports and entertainment, just because oh my god, it's so much more. Like even the worst storylines are just like, oh yeah, this guy's not going to be able to participate in the championship game because of X, Y, and Z, and it's just like, oh boo-hoo. Compared to what else is going on, bro.
It's a little bit simpler.
That's nice.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I almost feel like almost everything entertainment now like is based off us, like the viewership,
Yeah.
watching.
Well, a lot of people make things going on in the world entertainment. They take it as a form of entertainment, or like to, they talk about it in a way that's entertaining to
And
people.
things are like recorded. Everything.
Everything's
Even, like the
recorded
conflict in
everywhere.
Ukraine right now is
Yeah.
recorded. The conflict,
Yeah.
everything. So like it's hard not to make it entertainment, and it's also hard not to know it's entertainment on the other end. So even if
Yeah.
it's like something serious, like if you're aware people are watching, then it's performative, right?
Exactly.
You can't not acknowledge that someone's watching you as an audience, even if you don't want to. So that's got to be a really weird thing that we all deal with all the time.
Do you guys feel you have changed since you've been on in SU campus in some fashion? Like I feel like I personally, I'm not the most professional guy, but I feel like I've changed. I learned how to like dress now to the chancellor's dinner. My first chancellor's dinner, bro, I wear like a button-up shirt and like slacks and that's it. But now I have I have like 3 suits in my fucking closet now. And like I feel like I've changed. My emails get better. I'm fucking into golf now. I drink whiskey now. Like
And I have the opposite, and so I haven't changed at all. So
what?
no, I've changed a lot too. And I really didn't think about it until Rudy started telling me, right? So like having this like outside perspective of like, hey, you used to do things differently made me start thinking about it. And then we started talking about it. And it's kind of thing that we've been bouncing across. And I remember going with Rudy to our first etiquette dinner and like learning all these little like intricate things. And then just doing all these different things, these little trips and these little business meetings. And like, we're just different people now. And like watching Rudy and all of you has been like crazy to see. Like we're all completely different people than like 2021.
Yeah. Have you guys noticed it on you guys' personal lives?
Yeah, honestly, like I think I don't know about y'all, but like when I got out of the Marines and that, like I had a little bit of time before I came to college, but like the first few semesters, like I wasn't high strung, but like I had not an itch, but like I was just jittery. Like I had I don't know if you guys have these thoughts, like these intrusive thoughts that come to your head. It's like
Every
all right,
fucking day, baby.
yeah, like there's a dude that walks through this door and he's gonna shoot everyone. Like, what do you do?
Yeah.
But like,
I have that thought all the time.
yeah, like,
Bro,
but like,
yeah.
no, but like,
I'm jumping behind Derek.
Bro,
Just-
I
why
was
I always
that
facing
chilling
the
in my
door,
fucking in my couch, dude. Like,
Yeah.
because I live on
Yeah.
the 4th floor, so I feel like the apartment across from us, I'm gonna get fucking shot there.
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm
Well,
like-
that's why I always sit facing the door because I'm afraid someone might come in
Yeah.
and I won't be prepared.
Yeah.
That's why I always do that. Restaurants, stores,
And here's
even
the
now.
question: because do you also, when you're doing that, because I've experienced that as well, do you also feel silly that you're doing that and that's unneeded? Because I also feel like this layer of like I'm being a little extra.
No, absolutely. And that's like when I first came here, that's one thing I struggled with like the most, like is just that thought, because I would just think about it all day. It wasn't focusing on class or anything like that. Just walking through, the quad and just like, all right, what happens if X, Y, and Z happens? Like I still have those thoughts, but it's not like a driving urge. It's not like not an itch, but it's not like controlling me, So I feel like I guess the best way is like calming my mind down. Because before, I think with the military, it's just go, 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 and like I was in MP, I was in security stuff, like, so we have to be extra vigilant. So like just watching everything, you just get like high strung about everything. And like overthink everything, like, play what ifs all day, and like being able to pull back on that or like kind of like let that go has been like really relaxing and making things a lot easier for me. And I feel like that's a major change in my life.
Yeah, I think the ability to be conscious of that. Like,
Yeah.
hey, I'm a safe place. I'm on campus. The odds of thing happening, like, obviously there's school shooters around, but really the odds of happening are pretty slim.
Yeah.
Like, and the odds of you being shot on the campus is even slimmer.
Mhm.
So I feel like I think that's really cool that we're all conscious of it and we all could work on it. Like, I was really against therapy for a long time. But, I got to get those fucking VA claims up, boys. So
Yeah.
I started going. And then I told her, I told you guys about I can't, just hard for me just to chill. And then I feel like it's weird when I see another light come on across the hall or something like, what the fuck? And then, but, it has helped. And I feel like I have more sense of like calming.
Yeah. Well, like my therapist too, what he said too is like it's kind of corny, but he's like, think of it as like you're a child and there's like a giant monster in the room. Instead of like it overwhelming you and like taking control of everything, it's like you acknowledge it, but then you keep doing what you're doing. Like it's like it's there. Like it's always there, but like you're not letting it control you. You're just like, hey, what's up? And then you go about your business. And like when he said that, I don't know, things just kind of clicked. And I was like, damn. Yeah. Okay.
And I'm not into that shit at all.
I'm not gonna lie. It wasn't my therapist that said that. It was some random
Monsters Inc.
special. No, I don't like Pixar. Only Disney. It was a random special forces dude I saw on deployment. He was telling me about how he saw ghosts and how he approached dealing with ghosts in his like almost day-to-day life. Like he had like dozens of stories to tell us. It was weird, but he would just be like, it was somewhat to the same effect where it's just like if you acknowledge it and then let it be. You don't always like try to look in its direction. You don't follow it. You don't feed into it. And for me, it kind of clicked that same way. I was just like, okay, I understand there's this sort of baseline amount of danger being in Syria. And now that I'm here, I'm like, okay, I understand it's a lower baseline of danger around here, but there's still a baseline. And if I can just stay on what I have to carry out, acknowledging stuff around me, I don't have to let intrusive thoughts win over me as consistently.
How have you guys dealt with, we were all enlisted, and we all then they had to say yes to an officer, right? Whoever was on top of us. How have you guys dealt with saying no to people who like, who expect you to do something, and you're like, I don't really want to do that, or maybe I have other options, go to another school instead of as for law school, I go to fucking USC. Who knows? Like, how have you guys dealt with, being your own person?
You don't.
I don't. Yeah, no. I'm just a giant pushover.
Dude, even when I was telling officers, people above me, no. I didn't care.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, I also was in a very tough field, so it was kind of common to say no and to like talk to your higher ups, like talk back to your higher ups.
That's so crazy. Like, in my submarine, like, we could tell them to go eat a dick and stuff, but at the end of the day, I'm still got to do whatever the fuck he said. Like,
Yeah. Well, I worked in a ramp and in this like motor pool ramp thing. We couldn't wear ranks or we couldn't salute officers, so it was kind of like we were more even with each other. It was kind of more rough play, things like that. So I think coming now to university and telling no to professors or telling no to certain situations, it's a normal thing for me.
oh, wow.
Yeah.
I think that being in my field of work allowed me to do the same kind of things where you have like positional authority and then you can kind of equalize yourself. But I definitely did feel a lot of the time that I was like subjugated underneath the officers, especially I think it's worse in the Navy. We've talked about that
Yeah.
lots of times. You don't even eat together. You don't exist together. Like it's just a very stratified system. I think the way I've navigated that in my adult life after the Navy was I've kind of adopted the language of what I observed CEOs doing, right? So like when so I was talking with Rudy the other day, when I see someone who is like not in power or they want to project power, right? Like and like imagine like the rude person at like the car rental place, right? They're just going to be like I, and they're going to try to project like they're the decision maker. But then if you talk to someone who has real power, like a CEO, they always like defer. They say like we can't do that. I'm sorry, that's not our policy. Even if they wrote the policy, oh, I'm sorry, we can't do that. Our hands are tied, right? So I started adopting the we as much as possible, right? And just hiding behind just language of we. And that works so well because as soon as there's a we, then people don't want to push back as much because they don't know what's behind the we. So there's that. And then also I feel just expressing things in a different way, like in an adult, non-enlisted way, right? Like saying I'd prefer not to is really powerful, right? If you could just tell someone, hey, I'd prefer not to do that. It's really hard to argue with, and it's like you didn't give a reason. You're not justifying yourself. You're not like pleading with them. Oh, I have something. I'd prefer not to. And then like if someone, it takes a lot of like willpower to fight against someone who just said I'd prefer not to, and be like, well, I'd prefer you did. Like that's a lot. That's a big struggle. So I think just adopting just like language and allowing myself to be like. I heard a quote one time, and it was talking about I don't remember anything about it, but it was something to the effect of like I'm a free man. I intend to live like one. And that just struck me. I was like, oh, how do free men live? And I was like, okay, well, they do what they prefer to do and they don't do what they prefer not to do. That's what being free means. Mm-hmm. So I try to like influence that language and inject that language into my speech because otherwise I'm a super public servant at heart. So I'm a super servant at heart. And so like I am very amenable to things. I'm very easygoing. I'm very quick to react to urgency. And if I'm not careful to make sure that I'm taking charge of my own life because I'm used to being in a hive where someone else is in charge of that and I'm supposed to be taking care of the urgent things around me, then me won't get taken care of. So I have to intentionally put that into my practice.
I got something similar, but it's not from any quote. It's from watching Curb Your Enthusiasm and Seinfeld. Just do what you want to do, and there might be repercussions, but you're free. You're free to enjoy those repercussions.
Wow,
that's true.
And now being out, you really got to take care of yourself. That's one thing I definitely learned being out now a couple of years is you are the most important thing in your life. So always take care of yourself.
Yeah. I do a lot of parenting myself. I think of my inner self as an inner child. And then like I'm like, well, all the stuff that I did that's like being big, getting tattoos or working out or being articulate or getting a degree, like that's all like to keep my inner child safe. Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. And so like that's the whole point. And so I do a lot of parenting myself. In my head, I'm a we, right? All right, buddy, we need to go to the gym now so we can get swole. Like, all right, buddy, we need to go. Let's go to we want to get some hot dogs. Let's go. You want to go do that? Like, hey, you want to go out? You seem like you want to go out and have some fun with your friends tonight. Let's go do that, buddy. And like that's how I treat myself because like no one else is doing that for me. That's like I'm an adult now, so I have to parent myself. And being a dad of two helped that a lot because now I have that. That's my personality with my own kids, and so like I've adopted that with myself.
All right, Raph. When I said the word woke, what does that mean?
Boy, man. Oh man, I do. You say woke like.
Before you answer, I was watching Cat Williams like stand up on Netflix.
Woke folk or whatever.
Yeah, like fuck the woke or something. And he was like, fucking woke. That means fucking like I fucking woke up, bitch. What the fuck are they talking about?
No, I think that this line was people are trying to make woke out to be something. Y'all don't understand. Woke just means the opposite of sleeping. Like the idea is that word came into like what it is now as like this distortion of what it was meant to be synonymous with. And that's just being not like open-minded, but just sort of aware.
Yeah. I think it has a connotation in my head, the original term of like the Matrix almost, right? Where it's like you're sleeping in this delusion of some sort, like you're in a dreamland and it's like, hey, wake up. Are you awake? Wake up. And then like the Morpheus, whatever people that are coming to wake Neo up, right, in the movie, like those are the woke people coming to literally wake them up out of the sleep, right? And so like this, whatever framework of delusional thinking or whatever it is from whatever aspect or side, like whatever you're in, the ideology you're in, they're trying to wake you up out of the sleep of the brainwashing. I think that's kind of what the terminology evokes in my head, at least.
I mean, it's almost like a third eye, bro. It's like your third eye, like waking up and like you're seeing everything. But at the same time, it's, I don't know, like with woke, like, it's, how do I describe this? It's like you're fighting for stuff that already exists. Like, I don't know, you know, like everything already exists, like, you know, as is. It's just how it's executed is differently.
I think people recognize that they don't have the same level of agency as people who have the resources to do what they want in the structure that we set up or has been put in place by society.
I think the issue
So,
is
like,
when
classism?
people take wokeness as a personality trait and then they take it and run with it. I think that's the worst.
Well, they
Especially
think-
when they have like no idea of what really woke being mean. Like,
Well,
being
they think
woke
they're free.
means.
They're like they're free thinking. I think I think they think they're free thinking. It's like no, you have the same thoughts as everyone else, but like, and they're just a little bit off the wall.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, that's
Or
right.
they're
Little
like
bit.
they're like the extreme side of like
The extreme side.
Yeah, the extreme side of like everything that like we want or like people would need in society. You know.
I feel I'm a pretty progressive guy from California. I feel everybody could do whatever they want. Like, but when you're forcing your thoughts and beliefs on me, that's when like, bro, I don't like you. Get away from me. Like even like someone who like is a really church guy or a girl, and they like push God on me 24/7. Like I'm Catholic, I believe in God, but I'm not gonna go push that on other people because that makes people not like you, and they don't like your whole well-being and your whole thought process because you're overdoing it. And that's my problem with like woke people. There's too much. Like there's in my mind, in my head, personally, there's a difference between progressive and woke. Like
Have you been to Marshall Street lately? You think that guy's woke?
Yeah, dude.
that church guy.
Preacher guy?
No, I totally agree with you. Like, I hate it when people come up and they're like, they think they're, they're like entitled. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, but when your opinion doesn't match their opinion, then you're wrong. It's like, no, like, I think it all has to
That's a hell of a quote right there.
no, it all has to coincide with like just be a good person. It's like, Sally Jane's like, whatever they may be, like that's cool and all, but what does that have to how does that affect me personally? It's like, no, you're Sally Jane to me. All right, cool. End of the day. I'm Rayfield to you. That's all that matters. Like we have that interaction. Anything else besides that, like means absolutely nothing to me.
But you're saying I think if you don't have anti-fascist in your Twitter bio, that makes you a bad person.
I mean, I just fucking. I'm sorry, like that's fine. Like, yeah, you're. I don't know how you take that to become professionality. Like your hair is purple, or it's a rainbow. That's cool and all, but like, why are you screaming at me?
Yeah.
Yeah. They're trying to like put their life onto yours, like project it onto yours. And
Yeah.
it's-
Well, but
don't
it's
have to do
it's the
that.
other
Yeah.
side too, though. People who like the anti-abortion people and all that too. It's like they're the same thing. It's like, oh, if you're not anti-abortion, then like we don't want to talk to you. It's like, but like there's goods
Yeah.
and bads to everything.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
right. That is the exact same thing.
Do you think
That's true.
that what do you think their goal is? Both like let's say the loud trans activist types and the loud abortion activist types. Do you know of anyone who's changed their mind because of those loud activities? I don't know. And so is the goal to change people's minds on the street? Is the goal to change policy? Is the goal what do you think is the driving goal of people who are like that we are so not like? We're so like quiet and reserved and respectful, and we want to change things maybe in policy, and they're just and we have this grinding friction because they're loud and they're yelling. Like, what do you think their goal is? What are they trying to do?
Well, I feel like being loud, and you can look at the House right now too with how they're trying to get rid of like the speaker and all that for like the second time in like 6 months, which is like absurd. You can look at that as they're being loud and they're being obnoxious and all that, but like at the same time, there's something going on underneath that like volume. Like there's some sort of like they're trying to do something like beneath it. If like we're loud and obnoxious, like we're gonna cloud your thought and all that while we're trying to get our way going through. And then I think it's like almost like a diversion.
Yeah.
That's just I kind of thought about it differently, where I felt like the idea was of what you see as being like a loud personality or like someone who's being overtly outspoken to the point of it being obnoxious is it's still like a human reaction of how they've been offended and now they're getting defensive about it. So it's all like to me it's always just an individual human reaction. Extreme as it is, there's like always like this like ferocity to it where it's just like I was never brought up to be that loud. I got that loud at some points, but it was always just like I always recognized that it's like that's just an extreme human reaction. Like,
Yeah. I think they're trying to like at least try to convince people that their ideas are right, in my opinion, because I think there's definitely power in numbers, and if they are protesting and saying pro-abortion this, and there's a large group of people, I think if you walk past that protest 100 days, maybe they catch you on a good day, and you're like, you know what, maybe you guys are right, So it could be something that they've been doing logically. There's some idea to it. I don't know.
That's a really good point. Both of you together, right? So like what you said was together they made me think of this like mob mentality.
Exactly,
thing,
yeah.
Right. So it's not necessarily trying to convince anybody based off of like a rational argument, but it is kind of like pulling on their emotional heartstrings, right? Of like, hey, this is a consistent issue. These people are out here all the time.
Yeah.
They're giving up their own personal, enjoyment of the every single day, right? And so I think that the being accepted by the collective group is powerful. We know that being in the military, like it's really powerful. Like people and being like educated now, we look at history. Like people have done massively weird things to be accepted by the group, And so I think that is just as powerful. This group mentality, this mob mentality of being accepted by the collective, whether it's a small like cult to a large nation state, right, is super powerful. And I think so. I don't know. So I almost want to push back on a little bit what you were saying, Jose, because you said it's individual only. And I was thinking at the time, I was like, well, what about the people that are paid to be there, right? They're not. It's not an individual expression. It's something bigger. But I think that. So then there's people rationally co-opting and campaigning to have an emotional based movement, right? That's interesting. And that's definitely different than how I think that we would probably go about our own movements.
Yeah. And there's power in being accepted too. Like,
yeah.
there's
Yeah,
a
and
lot of power. in
a lot
being
of
accepted.
power.
Yeah.
And maybe we would do it exactly that way. I don't know. Maybe it was exactly how we would do it if we were starting a movement.
Yeah. And this campus is a great example of that because we have a lot of fraternities and a lot of students coming into this campus just want to be accepted, especially
Yeah.
after high school when you don't know what's going to happen to you in this like big world as a university is.
I said if we started a group or movement, but we are in a group, and
Yeah, no.
we've been doing it this whole time. But I don't think I do think that our group is based off of emotions. I mean, I guess all groups are based off of. We're not getting together and having philosophical discourse all the time. We're hanging out.
Yeah, it's funny you say like group and movement. When I was in the archives and John went with me the last time, the SU archives in Burr Library, it was just a group of veterans who needed a place to go and needed a place to hang out. And they needed like like their own family, in the higher education. So in 1971, that's when they founded it, and maybe they just went on a better way than some other movements. They just say, hey, how do we do this professionally? Based off what I read, obviously I wasn't there. They like went the appropriate routes, put the paperwork, took the time, and then now years later, decades later, we're enjoying the fruits of the labor, which is pretty cool. So movements do work and like groups do work, but I think how you go about it makes a difference.
I think it really matters if you have, and I don't know which one's the better, right? Because I could argue either way, but I think it matters if you have something that you're for and not just against. If your group identity is just against something, well, if that thing goes away, then your identity's gone, right? And so like, but also if you don't have an enemy, if you don't have like something that you're fighting against, some opponent, it is hard to coalesce yourself into an identity, right? It's very difficult to just be like, we're all nice and we all are nice together, and then that's just your identity. It's very difficult to have an identity unless it's like us versus them. But if you don't have an identity of like you're for something and not just against something, then you don't have enough like gravity to hold everyone together. It's really interesting. There's like a balance between the two.
Do you think that's rooted in the sort of more centering this around the national focus now? Just like, I think in the U.S., they've talked about it before, where the trait rooted in being competitive in competition, I think, is more prominent in the U.S. than most other countries. So do you think that, again, going to your idea that there's finding identity in a cause, and then there's finding opposition as almost something that needs to, do you think that's more because of what it might be rooted in more like the U.S.?
I mean, I think at the base level, any society is like us versus not humans, right? Or us versus the weather, right? And so I think that it goes way deeper than anything that we could create. I think that there is some sort of in-group, out-group idea in a group at all, right? Because there's no way to escape that. I don't know. I was researching recently on like the differences between people whose primary enemy was like the weather in like northern areas versus people in like southern areas where like all the resources are more available, there's more water, there's more sun, and you're not fighting for survival all the time. I think, and I was trying to figure out which one's more like warlike, right? Because if you're fighting the weather all the time, does it mean that you're all got to band together against like the enemy of the universe or whatever? Or if you have everything handed to you, because you have good resources, does that make you like does that make you want to go and conquer or stay and be complacent versus if you have like nothing and it's cold and stuff, does that make you want to go and conquer and get away from that, right? So like, but it's harder than I was thinking to make an even line.
Yeah, that seems like a very tough argument to make.
Yeah.
Thinking about it. Yeah.
Well, it's because like I said, like ancient Egyptians were not very warlike.
No.
For like thousands of years, they just stayed in the same place.
Yeah.
Right. And they had great dynasties, and like they advanced their tools for like farming and medicine, but they didn't really advance a lot of their war tools. And so then later, when they got conquered very easily, when the Romans came, because they didn't even develop harder metals because they were only farming in fertile soil. Right. Versus like the Babylonians, where like it's more like flooding and all the time, but not a nice like the Nile floods every year. It's like drastic, catastrophic stuff. So they had like drastic, catastrophic warlike gods, and like their afterlife was different, and like they were just like a different people, right?
Yeah.
And take the Vikings, like they were like, this sucks. It's really cold.
Yeah.
Right. And then like
Like the Mongolians too.
or the Mongolians, right? And so like when you have like these nice like peaceful areas, like you're like, at least this is what I learned in my introductory philosophy class in AA, in Florida, was like if you have a peaceful area, then you get peaceful gods and a peaceful afterlife, like the Egyptians, right? And so like that affects, or just culturally, right? So like that affects like your cultural mindset, right? Over like, are you gonna go to war? Are you not? And so like I'm just trying to think about how that affects like our little in groups, right? Like making a college campus group where everything's nice and given to you is going to be different than trying to make a group of friends when you're deployed in Afghanistan and things suck. They're just different. Like they're just like
You know
ways to think
that
about things.
that's funny. You remind me of something I thought about like a couple years ago. I feel when someone's life is so great, they find problems. I met many people who like both parents are like very or well off. They really had problems, so they made it a problem. Like I'm gonna become a vegetarian because like they had to try something different. Like they had to just do something that life was so great that they find an issue. They like.
But the thing is, how do you know that your life is great?
Because you're coming up with bullshit issues.
Yeah.
Like bro, where I grew up.
But then your life's not great.
Yeah.
Yeah, but where I grew up, like people, no one was fucking vegetarian. No one was thinking about fucking Latinx and how to properly identify us. We are just thinking like how the fuck to be successful and make it out of this neighborhood, or or our parents learning how to pay all the bills in time.
Yeah.
I feel like people
That
who
seems to
come
be
up
a trend,
with,
yeah.
with bullshit problems, they made them something their life was so great.
And then you look at people in like countries that have real world problems that are really struggling, and they're like the most happiest people you'll ever meet. They're just
Yeah.
enjoying life. Yeah. It was interesting.
But the person in like I have two thoughts. One is the person in like the Midwest emo, right, like suburbia, who's like creating problems for themselves because they're well off. They are suffering enough to the point where they're like committing suicide, let's say, right? Like that's dark, right? And so like it's not like it's not real. And then that reminds me of this study. I was learning about this study with rats, right, or mice or whatever. And like the daddy rats have to play with the baby rats to teach them how to do things, right? Like roughhouse and whatever. And if the dad rat doesn't let the baby rats win at least 30% of the time, then they like give up. They get like a disorder where they no longer like play anymore. But if they don't lose enough, or if they don't lose more than, if they have to win at least 30% of the time, but if they don't win more than 60% of the time, then they lose the ability. It's not fun anymore, right? And so like at a biological level, I think that we need to be like winning at least 30% of the time, but we don't need to be winning more than 60% of the time because then we get bored. And so I think if we're not winning enough, then we make it harder on ourselves. Or if we're not losing enough, we make it harder on ourselves. Like we will build in this ratio. And so if you put someone in an environment where everything's too easy, they'll just make it harder on themselves.
Yeah.
And so I think the temptation is to stretch yourself to make things harder instead of self-sabotaging yourself to make things harder.
It's funny. Like what you said right now, I feel like kind of goes back to what Jose said in the beginning, where you have to live in that gray zone where like you can't be too easy. Like that's why part of me wants to go to USC because my life here is pretty great, and I just feel like it'll be too easy. Obviously, law school will be hard. I have no idea what that will take, none. But like I have a group of friends, I have like money coming in. I'm established here. And I don't want to be too complacent. And like that gray zone, like that we live in, that we all thrive in. When we moved out here, we went to the military or whatever. And what we were saying about the the experiment, like living in that gray zone makes us better.
Yeah.
Live uncomfortable.
Well, stress is good though. Stress is a healthy thing. People think like, stress is like a bad thing. It's like you need to reduce your stress, blah blah blah. Like you do need to reduce your stress. Like it's a given. It's a, it's a yin and yang and all that. But like
drinking stress.
yeah, but at the same time, if you're not stressed, like how are you gonna get better? Like school is stressful, but at the same time, like what's the goal of it? Like that, I think that's what you have to look at. Is like what's the end goal of this stress? If the end goal, if there's no benefit to the whatever stress you're partaking in, then like you probably shouldn't be doing that. But like going to the gym, that's a stressful event. But why are you going to the gym? You're going to the gym to get, just yoked and all that, or, lose all the beer gut, stuff like that. Like that's why you're going to the gym. It's the end goal.
And I think, well, from what I've read, which is not an intense amount, but the difference in stressors is it really makes a difference whether it's like de-stress, like in distress, or eustress, meaning good stress. And so like your interpretation of the stress is how your body handles it. So like if it's fun stress, if it's excitement, if it's like I want to go to the gym, that's going to be good for your body. But if it's like you are forced to do a formation run at 4 a.m. in the morning and that's not where you want to be, that's
Yeah,
not going to
it's a
help your
different-
body. You know what I mean? Like it's not. So like, I mean, unless you can. So they say like, do what you love. But I think if you can just convince yourself to love what you do, right, all the time, and that's why we like gaslight ourselves for false motivation in the military, then it becomes better. And like we've experienced that. Like it does become easier when you can fake it, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that's a big difference is especially with the veterans is we know how to like gaslight ourselves into positive stress. We know how to turn because like excitement and anxiety are like the same exact emotion. It's just
Yeah.
like do you interpret it as good or bad? Are you excited to go to the concert or are you terrified of giving the speech? Right? Like they're the same really.
Yeah.
Right? So I think it is our ability to just fake motivation our way through things that kind of gives us a leg up.
And to come back to you, Rudy, about the being complacent and maybe thinking about going to USC. From my experience, and don't think this is like giving you advice for something, but
Well, you're a smart guy.
I did my undergrad here, so I've been here for 4 years, and I'm staying here to do my grad school, which is maybe another 6-7 years to get my PhD. And I think there's still a lot of gray zone within this area that I've been in for 4 years that I don't know and I haven't
really?
explored. Oh yeah, for sure. 4 years is not long. We make it seem like it's a very long time, but it's not even. I don't know what's 4 divided by 100. It's like 4% of our life if we live up to be 100 years that we're going to be here.
That's why you did physics. Dude.
Yeah, so there's definitely a lot of gray areas, at least for me, being here 5 years already. There's just still a lot of things that I don't know. Like when I'm in my house, where do I go? What do I do? I still don't know the area that well.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a lot to conquer. And I'm within a whole new different department in my PhD program where I still have to learn and navigate through that environment. So,
That's so true.
yeah. There's
That's
definitely
fantastic
learning is a continuous process.
Yeah.
Learning is
Yeah, if you want a
definitely-
gray area, law school is definitely all the gray
Exactly.
you need, man.
That's true.
You made me stressed
But
out there.
but your point about the time was also what I was thinking about, right? Because the 4% is what pushed me to want to do it, right? To go to another school after my master's degree, I was just like, well, okay, but I would rather live the other, I don't know, 50% I got left, let's say, right? After that 4%, than live that whole rest of my life than not having a law degree. That would just suck, right? Because like I've always wanted one. I feel like the me on the other end of that is cooler. And I feel like I would be sacrificing that and it's for a small 4% of my life, right?
Yeah.
So
And just the idea of knowing what you might be after that is very interesting to me.
It's exciting. Like,
It's
the
exciting.
future's
That's
exciting.
exciting, but it's like scary though too at the same time.
Yeah.
Because
It's
you don't know
very
what's gonna
scary,
happen.
yeah.
But that's like what's fun about it though too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, like you're the SVO president this upcoming year. Like that's exciting.
Nah, man, I don't want that responsibility.
You're gonna be
too
doing
late.
a lot more
Done and dusted,
speaking,
man.
like. So, Raph, what's like one thing in your life you think you could improve on?
Improve on?
Yeah.
Being able to talk, man. Words are hard. Like, words are hard. No, going back to like our conversation earlier about being able to how we're talking about like saying no and all that. No, I still struggle with that. Like, cause I'm a people.
It's
pleaser.
hard.
Yeah, it's hard, man. Like I like and Maggie busts my balls all the time for this too. It's like she's like, you want people to like you, and it's like, well, okay, yeah, I do that, but like, the inability to say no and all that, like it's hard for me. So I have to like work on saying no or being like, oh, I'm not going to be able to do that. And I've gotten better at it as the time's gone on and that. And I think people appreciate like you being honest and upfront with them. But at the same time, it's like, okay, I know I'm going to overburden myself or I'm going to do too much and just tax myself.
Wow. Some questions for you, bud.
What can I improve on? I agree with Rafe over here, just learning how to talk more, how to communicate more. I think in order to really like communicate and express yourself, I feel like there's a a whole realm of knowledge that you have to explore and understand to adequately, come across as a confident person. And it's something that I am trying to work on, trying to improve, trying to be a little bit more social, just because I guess I have always been a social person, but after the military, I felt like being a little bit more antisocial was an area that I wanted to explore.
I feel the last,
Yeah.
like month. I feel I've seen you more than the past 2 years.
It's
So I feel like you're on the right
I agree with that.
trajectory.
Hell
it's
yeah.
a right trajectory, but also for me, being social is very exhausting.
Oh, agree.
Over
1,000%.
yeah, it's so exhausting for me.
1,000%.
Especially
I'm
around
sorry.
Rudy.
I'm sorry, but like, just as a person, it's just exhausting. And do I want to be exhausted because I am, at least exploring a new realm that I haven't really been exposed to, or do I want to be comfortable in like my own little zone? And that comes again to that gray zone area of being a better person is navigating through this gray zone and learning something new about myself. So.
Yeah, I feel like the shittiest part about that is like, we brought up the gym a few times already, or just like, if you wanted to get better at something in general, doing it is usually the way to be able to build up your endurance, build up how well you do it, build up your proficiency in whatever it is. I feel like no matter how much time I fucking spend socializing, my social bar never fucking gets bigger. It's always the same, no matter if I was 12 years old or now. It's just like, oh shit, looks like it's ending. All right, I want to go. Yeah. Where's my keys?
But I feel like you've gotten better socializing because when I first met you, you were.
I'm a wallflower.
Yeah.
I'm very.
I think
aware of
that's where that like realm of knowledge that I was talking about comes into play. Is like there's actually like studied ways of how to communicate and how to socialize with people. There's a whole field of this that's very interesting, at least to me.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Communication is like key, man. I feel like it's hard to
Yeah.
put
It's-
your thoughts into words is not easy all the time.
Words are hard, man.
It's funny because growing up, I would read books like, how to influence people and win friends, Dale Carnegie, 48 Laws of Power, from what's his name, books like these that would help me socialize. And, I still have a long way to come.
Yeah.
It's weird. Like your social muscle, I feel like is the quickest to build and the quickest to atrophy, right? So I can like get thrown into a situation where I'm around people 24/7, like never alone, right? Like in like being on a Navy ship or a submarine or something, like just completely around people all the time. And it's gonna be awful for the first day or two. And then I'm gonna quickly become numb to that and be okay, right? And then you just function that way. And then but as soon as you give me 48 hours alone, then I'm going to be the hermit. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
quickly, it just immediately goes back to just you know what I mean? So if I even go a couple days without anybody around, like I get so introverted and I like want to do all the things that I've been neglecting on. And I want to learn this instrument and research this thing and, go to the gym more and just spend time by myself. But then like given like a month like that, then I'm like, oh dang, where are my friends? And then I finally need it.
Yeah.
And then like now I'm an introvert. You know what I mean? And then it's like a cycle. So it's really interesting. I really have grown to need being pulled into being a socialite more all the time. Like I really rely on like Rudy is always pulling me into doing more social things than I wouldn't be doing. Like all the time. He's like, do this. He's just like bullies me into it. Like I probably wouldn't even gone to my own graduation unless he bullied me into it.
That's funny.
Yeah. Like he's just like, do it. And, and then he's like yells at me and then he guilts me into it. And then I'm like, dang, I'm so glad he did that. Cause like my introvert self is like, don't trust him. You know what I mean? He's like an addict for introversion, right? It's like he'll lie and he'll like try to convince me of things and he'll like rationalize things so I can go like sit in my room and do nothing. Why? So I can feel safe for a second? That's silly. You know what I mean? So silly.
Yeah.
But it's
Safe
I'm there
and
all the time.
comfortable.
Yeah, safe,
Safe and
comfortable.
comfortable.
Like I'm not like taking on the burden of somebody else or needing to help somebody or whatever because I do all those things and it is like being on, But I'm always more proud of myself after I do those things than I'm like never at the end of the day going to bed be like I'm so glad that I stayed in my room all day and was on YouTube. Even if I do an assignment for school, it's like it doesn't really give me that much oomph. I didn't help anybody. I didn't make any connections.
Yeah.
I didn't make anyone's day better.
But here's like an example for me is like in that case, like do I go out and hang out with friends or do I learn something? Because I love doing both. I really love learning, and that side of me is something I don't want to give up. So how do I thread those waters is the question for me. How do I walk through that knife? Or walk on that knife.
I don't know. I think better time management.
Dude, there's so much time to do things, and there's not enough time to do everything. which
There's
is,
not enough
Oh.
time to live all the lives
Yeah.
and learn all the
I know,
things.
and that's the issue with me is that I want to explore those worlds.
Yeah.
I want to do those things.
I wish I had like 3 of me.
Right?
So I can
Yeah.
just do everything I want in like 2 different avenues of life. Because I feel like my biggest issue is I don't know, because I feel like I'm in the perfect level of being indecisive. Like I feel like I overthink things, so I really don't think I feel if I was smarter, I would know the answer. Also, I think if I was dumber, I would just pick an answer. But I think I'm right on that level. Right, I'm researching too much, and I almost feel like, man, if I was dumber, I would just pick USC already. Like, I don't know. I feel like I just research a lot and I overthink a lot of things. So I think I personally need to be more decisive on like major events that could change my life. And because at the end of the day, USC and SU Law, phenomenal programs. But I feel like I am just like, I need to learn how to be more decisive and just choose one and just full throttle it.
But that's a big part of your life. I think that's a good thing to dwell on for a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
That literally defines the next chapter of your life.
Seriously.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's true. I
Yeah.
wouldn't take that lightly.
Yeah.
But to your point about wishing you had a couple of yourself, I think I kind of think that's what is going on already all the time. Like think about like little bacterias and then like they split into 2, right? And so they could do different
Mitosis.
things. Yeah, like mitosis. And so I think like that's how I view all of humanity, right? Like I can't do everything, I can't be everybody. So it's like we're just multiplying, and so like everyone gets to live all the lives, and I can't do all the things. Like you can't go to USC and go to Syracuse Law, right? But it's like which one, it's not about which one's the better choice, it's about which one is you, right? Because like everyone's just living out these different character roles all together simultaneously. And so it is like you have a clone of yourself. That's all of us. And like sometimes doing different roles makes you look different or act different or be different, and that's why we're all different. But at a fundamental level, we're just doing different things. So which one is you? Which one would you be more proud of being and inhabiting as a character? That's the one you should do.
Yeah.
Because that's the character you're going to play for the rest of your life after that.
wow.
Exactly. Yeah.
Do you guys believe in like, well, not believe in, what are your thoughts on deja vu?
Deja vu?
Yeah,
Deja
the
vu.
concept.
It's a real thing. man.
My-
Talking about the concept.
Deja.
Because I was reading,
Wait.
obviously no one knows what it really is, right? But I was reading a bunch of different articles about it and just, because my degree is like science based, so like I'm into that stuff. Not as much as in physics, but I did take 2 physics courses. And so did Raf.
Let's go.
And I was just thinking, like, man, like, I feel there's so much theories out there about deja vu. Like sometimes when you remember something, one theory was like, because you lived it already in another universe. And then you just remember it. It's more like a memory because you already went through another timeline.
Oof.
And I was like, oh, wow, that would be crazy. It's just I felt like it was a fun concept because no one knows.
No.
And these theories could be so radical. And who knows? What are you guys' thoughts on deja vu?
I think that's a lot more interesting than like my brain clinically defines it. My brain is like, I stored a memory in my long-term memory box instead of the short-term memory box.
Yeah.
So now it feels like I have that as a long-term memory that I'm experiencing. Right? It's like real like clinical, right? Like it filed it in the wrong file. Like it should have been in the not in the recents, it should have been in my documents, right? And so it's but now it's not in recents. So but it was a recent file. I don't know. But that sounds really clinical and sterile. I like yours better. So I'm gonna adopt yours now.
Yeah.
I mean,
There's another cool theory where it's in a different universe, the place that you reach up to before you died, and now you're just like catching up to that point in this universe.
Wow.
Oh, I like that. Like save
Yeah.
points in a video.
So there's multiple universes, and in each universe, you get to a point X, right? There's X and for each number of universe, and depending on where you get to in that universe, that different universe, your universe now, where you are right now, you're catching up to that.
So Nietzsche had an idea, a thought experiment of eternal recurrence, right? Which is where everyone is going to live this exact same life over again.
Exactly, yeah.
For
Mhm.
eternity,
And-
right?
yeah.
The same exact life to a T, no difference from birth to death, no differences, right? Like you can't choose anything different. You're going to live exactly as Rudy, and then you'll die, and you'll be born exactly as Rudy again. Live the exact life forever, right? And so he was like, make sure you choose a good life because you're going to live it for all eternity, right? But maybe that's deja vu. Maybe
feel-
you're remembering.
maybe.
Maybe you're remembering.
I like that one.
life before.
Yeah, that's
But I also don't like that one because then it kind of narrows down that you have no free will in
Yeah.
a sense, right? You're kind
Or
of
your free will is right now because you just got made aware of it
Ooh.
And so now you can choose from now on here on out. And maybe that was always the case, sure, but like
That person, the woke person, is gonna come and wake me up and do it.
Yeah,
we're
well-
gonna be on a matrix ship, dude. Like flying through there.
yeah.
I feel like it's a comfort thing, like or like your body or your brain wants to be at a level of, like comfortability, and like deja vu is like bringing you back or like thinking back to like a time where like something like similar happened to this and like what you experienced in that time. So it's like I don't know, like trying to keep you like comfortable or like prepare you for something. It's almost like a preparatory thing, you know?
That's a good one.
That makes sense too.
I like
Yeah.
that.
Actually, I haven't had deja vu in a while thinking about it. Yeah.
But you've experienced it?
He's gonna walk
Yeah.
walk
for
through
sure.
that door and be like, oh my god.
Yeah. Once or twice.
Yeah. I have too. It made me like, oh, wow.
It's an awkward feeling in the
Yes.
beginning.
Yeah.
Vulnerable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
It
I
all-
should know
yeah.
something I don't know and I
Exactly.
feel exposed.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like why don't I know why I know what I know right now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, to run the next segment, I asked all my guests their favorite quote and why. So we'll start off with Jose.
Yeah, so I kind of cheated. I don't have a quote. I just have a saying. It was a saying that someone did. You know, if you ever are stationed somewhere and after so many months, people just start like, you know, the revolving door. People have to go to the next stop. So this guy was there probably like 2 weeks, or I had been there for 2 weeks, and then this guy was leaving. So he was kind of saying his goodbyes, had his goodbye speech, and he said something to the effect of, in the military, it probably makes more sense anywhere else, but to grow where you're planted is the phrase that I kind of always had tried to live by. Then when I heard it then I was like, yeah, that's my saying. Just the idea that if we're all seedlings or, you know, baby plants just out in the world, you know, when we get put somewhere, you know, maybe we're not, maybe it's not the ideal situation. Maybe it's not, you know, the most fertile place for us to, you know, develop ourselves, for us to do what we hope to achieve. The idea is you can still find a tremendous amount of personal growth wherever you are, so long as you make the best of it. And I feel like there's like so many different sayings saying the same thing, and everyone has to say it. So everyone has that fake ass motivation when we're in the military. It's just like
Fake ass motivation.
fake ass motivation. Motivation's so fucking fake, bro.
To some people, it's real.
That fan, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Literally,
so-
some people say fake motivation is still motivation.
You fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know
I'm
that
not one of those
saying?
people.
I have drive. That's different.
It's about drive. It's about power.
That saying reminds me of what Theodore Walker, Professor Theodore Walker said on our ball. He was like, whatever you do, as long as it feels right in the moment, you're in the right path. He said
Yeah.
some variation of that. I thought that was pretty cool. And it kind of ties with your favorite saying.
Yeah, I think the idea of just being like, I've made a decision, and like all of us here at this table, we made a decision that led us to this moment. And so the idea is we can be aware of the pros and cons, the good and the bad of where we're at right now. The idea is you don't let the bad stop you from being the best version of yourself.
Right on. It was fantastic. Well,
Yeah, so I got a quote. I got to read it, though, because it's a little long. I have it on my phone. It's by one of my heroes, for sure, and definitely changed me who I am, or change who I am right now as a person.
who's your hero?
Anthony Bourdain. You know, familiar?
Yep.
Anybody?
The food guy.
Yeah,
Rest
food
in
guy.
peace.
Yeah, rest in peace for sure. So this is the quote he said. Eat at a local restaurant tonight, get the cream sauce, have a cold pint at 4 o'clock in a mostly empty bar, go somewhere you've never been, listen to someone you think may have nothing in common with you. Order the steak rare, eat an oyster, have a Negroni, have to. Be open to a world where you may not understand or agree with the person next to you, but have a drink with them anyways. Eat slowly, tip your server, check in on your friends, check in on yourself. Enjoy the ride.
Really like that.
That's good.
That's
Yeah,
a quote
nice.
that he definitely changed who I am as a person now, and it kind of goes back to, you know, exploring this side of me that I don't really know, being open to new ideas, having an open mind, and then going to places that I'm not comfortable in, for sure. So, yeah,
That was really good.
that's my quote.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Thank you.
Well, Raph, you have a
No.
you have a lot to live up to.
I mean, I have a few, but like I think the one thing that stuck with me the most is I was at sergeant's course at good old Camp Pendleton. Basically, we have to do it. It's a leadership course that we have to go through. Yay! But I remember it was my gunny. It was Gunny Vickers who was in charge of me, and we were doing this dumb assignment. It was like list 5 things. It was like family, friends, the Marine Corps, the Constitution of the United States. You had to list them in like order of importance. And like most people are like family or friends, stuff like that. Well, his is like mine's like the Marine Corps, and we're like, what the hell are you smoking, bro? I think it's part of that false motivation. It's like you get to that point, it's like you have to drink the Kool-Aid. Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts. Like you're drinking it, you're going in head first. But he's like, I put it in, or I put it this way because like I know at the end of the day, like the Marine Corps is gonna get theirs, and like it never really dawned on me at the time, but I was like, it was just like, damn, yeah, you're right. Because he went on to elaborate. It's like, it doesn't matter. Like, I could be sleeping at my house at like 2 a.m. I get a call, like, I have to go. Like, we're going, like, it's just how it works. And I kind of equate that to like everything here. Like, Syracuse University, like, they're going to get theirs. But what he was trying to get at is like, do what like is not right for you, but do what you want to do, like within the system. Like, at the end of the day, wherever you work, whatever you do, like, the system is going to get theirs. Like, not exploit the system, but like take advantage of it. Like, get out of it, like what you want to get out of it. And then if you get everything out of it, then it's like time to go. Or it's time to move on. Or it's time to do something different. So like, I've always taken that, and I've told my buddies who are still on, it's like, dude, like, and that's kind of why I got out, because I got everything that I wanted out of it. And it's like, okay, I know they're just going to keep getting theirs. Like, it's time for me to move on to something else so I can keep getting mine. So I kind of feed off of that.
I 100% agree with that quote. I think I cannot agree with it anymore. Like, the Navy, with the military, doesn't get everything they can out of you. They invest so much money in you. They train you,
absolutely.
they paid you, they fed you, whatever. So you should get everything. You should apply to a VA disability, because we all said stuff right today that it's hard for us to say no, or it's hard for us to do certain things or be 100% comfortable walking across the quad or relaxing because of our time in the military. And that is going to take a long time for us to get past it, if we ever do. And so I 100% love that quote. And I think all veterans should take advantage of every resource possible, whether it's VA disability, VA insurance, talking to mental health, whatever the case may be. Take advantage of it and utilize every resource you possibly can, because they 100% what they want out of you.
Well, even like at Syracuse, like, I mean, it costs what, like $80,000 to come here? Like,
Yeah.
That's a fact, yeah.
If we didn't have the VA, like, we're $240,000 in debt. Like, nah.
Yeah, none of us are coming here.
Like, yeah, exactly. No one's coming here. But at the same time, like, they're getting that money. So, like, they're
Yeah.
still getting that out of you. It's like, take advantage of like what they have here, like the resources. Like, take the classes you want to take. Like, you shouldn't leave here and be like, wow, that was kind of a waste of time. And like, I don't think if I ever left, when I leave and all that, I don't think that at all. Like, the resources I have, like the community I've built, like, that's I don't know, but words.
Invaluable.
Yeah, invaluable. There you go. Yeah.
You're right. Yeah, that's
Time
the way
goes
to
by
look at
so
it.
much faster too if you're doing what you want to do.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. I feel my time here has just flown by, bro, because I loved it. But like, you're right. Like, you should have looked at it everywhere you go. Like,
Yeah.
wherever you work for, any company you work for, if you work for a 3-letter agency or like the Big Four or whatever, like, they're gonna use you. You should
Yeah, bro,
utilize
they're gonna
them.
use you,
Like,
you're a number, bro. Like,
yeah. At the end of the day, like, any company you work for, work your best ability, put your best foot forward, because they're gonna, use and abuse you. You should utilize the
So you
resources.
use them back.
All your
man.
amenities, all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Here, I try to go to the hot tub every day.
Use your sick time, bro. Use your PTO. Use everything. I know so many people, like my father, he hates calling in sick. He hates using his vacation time. Bro, what? Like, why? They'll replace you tomorrow if you die. Like,
Yeah.
use your time, dude. Like, I understand being grateful for the opportunity, but they hired you for a reason.
Exactly.
They needed you too. Like, it's a two-way streak.
I agree with that 100%. I was going to give a different quote. There's a really nice one by Robert Heinlein about specialization and how it's for insects and how we're humans, and so we should be able to fix a tire and build a house and, make
Be
a
a man.
martini and be a man and do all these little things, right? But after listening to Jose's quote, I really think that
Game changer.
a game
Yeah,
changer.
dude, that's true.
What really gets me in my inner self, like living by my quote, is this one I saw originally. I think it's from the Bhagavad Gita, but it was on the wall at an agency that I was working at, and it was talking about good men plant trees and water the trees under which that they will not sit under the shade of. Right? And I butchered it. But essentially this idea that like you're like tending a garden of which you're not even going to eat the fruit of, right? And so like that's what it means to be a good person, right? So just do, like Ted Walker was saying, like do the right thing all the time, like plant trees even if you're not going to sit under their shade. And like eventually, you know, you will reap the benefits because I'm constantly sitting under the shade of trees that other people planted right now, right?
All right, yeah.
Yeah. So like that's neat. And if that cycle doesn't continue, then there will be no more trees, right? In metaphorically, right? And so like I'm constantly like enjoying the amenities of people who have done things before me. And so like I just want to do the same things so that people in the future can do that. And I think that's what being a good person is just like paying it forward. And that's it sounds simple, but like I think about that every day.
Well, that's fantastic. And I feel like it kind of goes what we talked about before. Like, I feel everybody at this table, our current or future kids, whatever the goals are in life, to be an astronaut, to be, you know, politician, whatever it is, we're going to be able to help them because we've gone through both the military and higher education. So whatever their goals are, we will be able to put them on the right track to get there faster and more precise. Like, you know, for law school, there's a 3+3 program. So people who are in high school right now can get accepted to law school. And that's what I was being against for my applicants. The same thing for Doctor of Physical Therapy, 3+3 program. And then all these programs, I didn't know about it, but like we are working hard now. We're understanding these resources. Even if we can't take advantage of them, we're planting a tree in ourselves to shade our kids essentially, so that they can have more direct route into, you know, their respective career. And, you know, I've been thinking of that, you know, my own father said, you know, he's the one that told me, like, if I was more educated, if I was more aware of the world, you wouldn't be in this predicament, Rudy, because I would have already had trained you to be more precise and get exactly what you want. And, you know, my dad, he didn't graduate high school. He was born in Mexico, and I really appreciate it because I feel like sometimes my dad thinks at a higher level than his education says. And even though he cannot help me, he's aware he can't help me, but he gives me the best advice and he's there for me if I need it, which is cool. But I think finding that quote was really dope because we will all be able to help our kids reach wherever their goals are.
Yeah. Experience is the best teacher, for sure, hands down.
So my personal favorite quote is being real. It's not my favorite quote, but it's one of my top quotes. Being realistic is the fastest route to mediocrity. Being real, like you should reach for the stars. You know, you should really reach for it. You should try because why do you want to be mediocre? Like being realistic is not going to be.
I got so
fun.
many reasons why I want to be mediocre.
That's not going to get you the nice car, the convenience of flying on vacation whenever you want without having to stay for a year. Like we're all working hard. We all deserve to have a great life. Whatever great means in your head, we all deserve it.
I like that.
Thank you.
And I've been thinking about it, you know, for the past, you know, couple months. What does the word like man mean to you guys? Like a modern day man.
Ooh.
So to me,
Wow.
I was been thinking about it for a while, and I feel like a modern day man is someone who like works hard, provides for family, be a good person, but also shows empathy for other people, who can be compassionate and not like a hard ass all the time. But they don't need always the recognition, or they don't need always like a thank you, because that's part of being a man. It's decided like, you know, you don't have. I know there's so much wokeness in the world, but a man's still a man in my eyes. Like, hold the door for a person, being happy. If someone needs rides to the airport, take them. Someone needs help with their car, do it. And then if someone has a hard time, just listen to them speak. And I feel like being a modern day man is harder than ever. Because in the past, you just be real tough, like all the time, hard ass all the time. And now you have to be more like tough, but a balance of like sensitivity as well. And I feel it's a very hard balance for a lot of people. But that's what I think of a modern day man. We'll just start from.
I'll take it from there. For me, it's like
Don't feel obligated to agree with me either. If you have your own opinion, that's totally fine.
yeah, I think I'm the most woke at the table, so I'll take a complete opposite. I feel like for me, a man, the word man is like I always equate it to being short for gentleman, but also short for human.
Oh.
The idea being like you talk about the previous generations. My dad was kind of like this, being a guy who didn't finish I think the third grade, coming out of Mexico and coming here with my mom. The idea was his sole focus was being a provider by whichever means he could do it. Migrant labor, truck driving, construction worker, construction labor. I always equated what I needed to be a man when I was growing up, that I needed to be a hard worker and a provider. And I think now, today, what we understand it to be is there's a better focus on men's mental health. So the idea of a man being a human and being a gentleman is the idea that we can carry out this sort of independent lifestyle while also focusing on our individual needs as humans.
That was great.
Wow.
That was good.
Damn. I have a lot to live up to, huh?
Oh, snap.
Yeah, fuck you, Derek.
Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks. That's good. Man. Yeah, the modern day man is something very difficult to, I guess, nail down on. And I guess my response to what a man is probably not going to be the best answer. But I think a man is someone who definitely makes mistakes, who definitely puts themselves out there, makes mistakes, learns from these mistakes, and then at least teaches people or teaches, the next generation about what he has learned from these mistakes. Definitely someone who takes care of their family is someone who's a man, and does it in the right way, whatever, there's lots of ways to do the right way. The right way has numerous answers, right? But definitely someone who makes mistakes, teaches the next generation in the right way, and then someone who, provides for their family is a man, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take
Right on.
Jose's thing. Like
Yeah.
that's where my head went to when in thinking of man. Like I broke it down. It's like human. Like and this can apply to like anything. Like woman, like whatever you want to say. But like back in the day, like the man used to be like or a man was like someone who's like hardworking, provides for the family and all that blah blah blah. Which I think it equates to. But I think it goes back to like being honestly just being like a good person and like. Being a good person is like opening up the door, saying like please and thank you. But at the same time, being a person too is like knowing like your limitations and like telling people no. I think it's like it's a holistic thing, like being a good person, like but also being like honest and like truthful with others, and like that's what makes you like, a good man or a man in itself. It's like realizing that you're limited and that you can only do so much and you're taxed. And you have to take a step back. But at the end of the day, like being able to smile and like wave at people, even like in a time of like turmoil, like inside yourself or outside and all that. I think that's like what makes a man. It's like
Yeah, it's hard to put your inner feelings aside and still show it. Like
John,
John,
you're a man to me.
Thank you. You're a man to me. I like Jose's comment too. I think so etymologically, right? Like the term man originally didn't mean male. It meant human, right? The term for male was were, were, is where we get werewolf from, male wolf, right? So vir was a v, ver was man, and wif was a woman, wif. So ver and vif were man and woman, and man, mann, was human, right? And so there is, I think, a lot of validity to that, right? To be a man is to be a human. But I do think that we've crafted an idea of what it means to be a male in human society, and we use that term man now. And I think about what that means, and I've thought about that a lot. I think that there's kind of like 4 maybe virtues that are also applicable in every way to women, right? But that men value, because like men are also, as a father, I'm very nurturing, right? But I would say that being nurturing is not necessarily something that we would chalk up to being a masculine virtue, right? Although I am nurturing, and there's human virtues, right? When I think of masculine virtues that we've crafted, I think of like strength, mastery, courage, and honor, right? Like those 4 things. And so mastery is over yourself and others, right? So it's talking about your positive demeanor, right? And courage is about doing the right thing all the time. And honor is about being a good person, right? And doing what is good even if no one's watching, right? Which is why also, side note, I think the religious aspect is so beautiful, is because there's always someone watching. So you're always on stage. So you're always being performative. So you're always doing the good thing and someone's always noticing. So that's kind of a neat flip, like you're never alone. So I think that's pretty cool. But that has the risk of being totalitarian also, and then you're afraid all the time. But I think, yeah, strength, courage, mastery, and honor. I think those are the things that really distill what it means to be a male or a masculine virtues. And of
Or isn't
course,
that the Navy saying?
maybe it's also pretty close to what the Romans would say too. Romans had a very similar one. I forget, there was like wisdom in there or something, right? So I think it's pretty attributable across all people. I think that's what it means to be a man. I mean, I think that's like we're obsessed with strength, we're obsessed with courage, we're obsessed with mastery, and we're obsessed with honor. I mean, every man is obsessed with those 4 things all the time. Like we literally will kill ourselves trying to achieve those things.
It's true.
You know?
I guess it's true even for the people who are really woke on the tents outside. They're obsessed with like their power of like
Yeah.
getting college to uninvest
And I think it's worth.
or whatever their goal is.
Yeah.
Do you think if they came in here, they would give a similar answer to us?
You
Of
know
what a
at
man is?
At first,
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I didn't think that until he started speaking. So John started speaking. I was like, I immediately thought of them.
Yeah, it's like a rebel without a cause. Like you make a cause, and I think there's I think when I think about movies and like how we like look up to like Darth Vader and these like villain characters, but we still respect them, right? Is because I think there's a difference between being like a good man and being good at being a man. And I didn't make that up. I heard that on YouTube somewhere, right? So that distinction, right, is like you can be good at being a man and you can still be a bad man and be good at being a man. And that's how we have respectable villains, right? And so I think even if we disagree with someone protesting, they're still like embodying these virtues, whether on good or bad. That's why like the villain and the superhero are closer than anyone else, anyone that's not on stage, because they're so alike, right? It's like almost like horseshoe theory. Like the ends are closer than the middle.
Wow. We're so close to our villains.
Yeah, I mean, there's a phrase I heard one time that the enemy is the true teacher or the only teacher, right? Because they're the only people that understand you.
Yeah.
And even in Sun Tzu in the Art of War, it's like you got to love your enemy to vanquish him. Like you have to.
Your enemy will give you more than your friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard of that quote. Yeah.
They're the only person that's going to really truly understand you. Because if you're trying to like defeat somebody, you have to know their weaknesses and their strengths. And so like no one except your enemy is really going to invest that much energy and time into you. So
I
that's
really liked
interesting.
how Rudy thought he had a
Too. I mean, I've been thinking about this too. Like, I was walking back home the other day, which is like a mile walk or whatever, and like I was thinking, like we talked about earlier, like how quickly time went by here, and it's been. I mean, I didn't graduate here for like 3 years, but it zoomed by, man. It was just like it was like a blur, and like I was just thinking, it's like, damn, I'm kind of grateful to like be here though. Like the community here is like really really cool. I think the school does like really well. There's definitely professors that stand out amongst others.
Oh yeah.
And
Shout out Dr. French when he listens to this.
Yeah, there's like 3 professors that come to mind, and I'll say them at the graduation. But like I know I'm thankful for the time, but it's like it flew by, and like the next, now we're entering. Some of us are entering that gray zone. It's like what happens next, and it's just like okay, like getting prepared to do that it's always interesting.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Yeah, I definitely see myself at least taking time to appreciate every moment now, because I've noticed that in my undergraduate too, that it just flew by 4 years. 4 years is a long time, although it is a short time too. But
4%.
yeah, 4%. Definitely now I'm at least taking a second within the chaos to observe and appreciate everything for a second, at least.
I definitely agree with those 2 sentiments. I sure as hell am never paying another dime to this place, though. I'm not that grateful.
I mean, nor am I. Like they come out with the things like, oh, we need donations. Like you guys get plenty of donations.
Jose's too woke to be grateful.
At least they use their donations to invest within the place. I like that about Syracuse a lot,
that's
in my opinion.
That's true.
One day it's going to be the Jose Baeza Ruiz Library.
No, I want the Starbucks named after me.
The Starbucks?
Yeah.
Honestly, the amount of money he's put in a Starbucks, he probably deserves that.
Yeah.
Sick.
No more canteen.
For some reason, I
I hate
like the
that
idea
name.
of putting my name on a building too. Actually,
You hate
I
that?
want.
I like the idea.
I know.
I
I feel like that's such a cool thing.
Your
Yeah.
name will live forever.
Yeah, the physics building doesn't have a name because nobody's made a donation large enough to.
Oh.
to
Isn't
earn
it Stolken?
The John
No, the
Difford
physics building is
building?
just a physics building.
Oh, the
Yeah.
auditorium Stolken.
Yeah, the
Oh,
auditorium.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
I think I would donate back to the school if I ever make it in life, or in my head I think I'm gonna make it. I would. I would donate back to the SVO though. Specifically.
I'd say I would donate to the SVO. Like I would do like the Primo. Me and him talked about that, like giving him like some sort of
It's
like
40K endowment to start your first scholarship.
really, yeah, doing some sort of like scholarship. Like that'd be cool.
I don't know what the fucking SVO lounge be. The Rosika SVO lounge.
That's a dope idea too, to offer a scholarship. That's a really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah,
cool idea.
that would be really cool.
Yeah.
The Rudy Rosique Endowment Family Veteran Men Military Connected Scholarship.
No, fuck military connected.
That was a mouthful.
Brown veterans only.
Brown
They put that as a guideline, like only brown people here.
That's already
There's a scale on there.
Yeah, it's the Family Guy thing.
That
Pulled
Family Guy
up. Just reversed.
That means pretty funny, dude. Man, that's cool, man. Well, Johnny, everything. I know you love to speak a lot, so
I do love to speak a lot.
any last minute moment, I don't know, thoughts, prayers, well beings.
John's always good for a golden nugget here and there.
You have good history knowledge. That's pretty cool.
Thanks.
I like that. I
I'm
enjoy
mostly
that.
Just spitballing and hoping it's not wrong.
Yeah, I'm gonna go fact check everything right after this.
I have no sources. It's just my impressions. I think, I don't know. I would actually have a question more than a nugget of wisdom. I have two questions, really. One is, how do you guys foresee, Rudy and I were talking about the difficulty of keeping relationships alive over time, keeping your networks warm, and like managing and juggling all of these networks. Like I didn't come to college to not make friends, right? And not to keep them throughout my whole life. Like I really value that. And I think that's the difference between getting an online degree certification or, and coming here and getting a real college experience, or even going to community college. I got my AA at a community college, and it was good, and the library was just as good, and the degree programs were just as valid, right? But the difference in the why it's 10 times more expensive to come here, right, is because they do a lot of like screening out people, and they do a lot of like picking the right people that are like-minded so you can make those connections. And so like I don't want to squander that any more than I want to not use the hot tub amenities, right? Like there's so much effort put into curating my network, right?
Networking, hot tub.
Yeah, same.
Neck
Well,
and neck.
hot tub isn't here. I go every day, and then because that's the only way I can trick myself into working out. I'm like, all right, buddy. Well, we're here. Might as well lift
It's
some
your little word.
I've actually never
It's that,
used the
that's
hot
that
tub,
positive feedback
but
loop. That's what
It
that
is.
is.
It is. So I'm wondering what you guys' opinions on is that. And then I have another question if you don't have any answers for that. It's just, what's the last thing you changed your mind on? I'm curious.
I don't have a good answer for the keeping warm networks, but I'm still figuring that out.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to figure out how to keep connections like warm and like stable. But the last thing I changed my mind on this morning, I woke up. I'm going to Escalon.
Dang.
Whoa.
I went to
Congratulations.
First, folks.
Well, hold on. I went to
Oh.
PT today, and I was talking to my physical therapist, and she was like, so I researched 5 major league PTs. 4 of the 5 in California went to USC. And I told her, she's like, fuck. Go to USC. And I was like, fuck. Okay. So I'm back to 50-50 now. But that's the last thing I changed my mind on.
So as far as the question about networks, I've done a really poor job of,
Speaking of people.
staying in touch of who I've connected with journey to journey. I just saw a text come across my phone from someone I bartended with, and she's like, "Hey, I was looking to ask about something that you did before," and I probably respond, but I'm always the one
probably
that
respond.
I'm always willing to respond and like give something to someone than I am to do something or like to be the one to reach out in an effort to keep the network warm.
Same.
I think it's for me. I've always had the benefit, regardless of how I am socially, to be in an environment where my job is to perform and then connect with others around me and network that way. And then over time, I can be, I have that reputation. I have a good positive reputation and a positive network out of it. But to then essentially uproot everything and then be planted somewhere and then work on growing there, I never have that sort of medium in the connection. So I don't really have a good answer for that one. The last thing I changed my mind on, I decided between whether or not I was going to go to Dunkin' or make coffee. I made coffee.
Those are real world problems.
When in doubt, cheap it out.
For the connections thing, I think it's a very interesting question because we live in an age where we have such easy ways to connect to other people. It's like literally in our hands how we can connect to people across the world or anywhere in the world. We could just reach out to them and say, hey, how are you doing? How are things? But also that makes it like such a difficult thing because we know we have the accessibility of it. I think the best way to maintain connections and to really at least stay in communication with people that you have been in the past is to do a little bit of traveling. Just you have your phone right there and you probably won't reach out to the person that you want to reach out to. But if you at least, travel around a little bit, you might go to the place that that person's living in. And then you have a real valid excuse to really reach out to them. That's not the easiest thing to do, I think, but it's the only thing I see as a substitution instead of just, not texting the person. At least now you have a valid excuse to say, hey, I have to reach out to this person because I'm in their town. I haven't seen them in 5 years. I haven't talked to them in a bit. So, now might be the perfect time to reach out to them. Definitely not the cheapest option, but it's a valid option, I think. And I changed my mind on anything, to be honest. Oh, actually, no, I lied. I did change my mind on something, man. And it's regard to the protests outside. I've done a little bit of research, because I feel like the protest or the encampment leads you to believe that there's only one side to cheer for, or at least to go for. And I think just being at least oblivious to other sides and other ideas is a bad rabbit hole to go into. I think doing a little bit of research for your own sake and for your own, opinions is a good thing to do. And at least to know what is really being, advocated for or advocated against. And, I've done a little bit of research and I've, at least changed my mind of my initial thought, which I don't want to get canceled, so I won't say anything. But, definitely doing a little bit of research and, knowledge, instilling some knowledge within myself to know what is really going on.
You just really had to warm up my coffee store, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I've changed my mind on recently.
Want to close it out?
Yeah.
Raph?
Dude, you were like in my head, dude, because I was literally had this thought is one of my good buddies, well, I don't even know if I can call him a good buddy or not, like in the Marine Corps, we went to, not basic, but we went to like our A school, so MP training, our MOS school together. We got stationed in Japan together. We were roommates. Like I was his best man at his wedding in that. And then I PCS to Pendleton and he came out and like, we're still obviously socializing. But then after that, like it kind of just like fell off the map. And like there's a lot of dudes, especially like guys from like earlier in my enlistment that said like, I don't like really, it's not that I associate with, but I just don't talk with, like, good buddies, like great people to be around and all that, but just like there's no interactions anymore. And like to Derek's kind of point, like technology is like it's a burden and like a blessing at the same time. It's like, oh, I could totally reach out and see how they're doing, blah blah blah. But then it's like they could do the same thing, And I think trying to combat the reciprocation of it, like you can reach out all day and that, but like. If you reach out to Joe Schmo and he's like good, like gives you like one word answers, and it's like this isn't really like
There's zero reciprocity.
Yeah, there's no interaction there, and I think it's interaction. So I think it takes two to actually have that good like network and all that. Like, and I feel like at least with like guys at the table here, like a lot of people here at SU, if I call them or text them and all that, like at least like a 5-10 minute conversation, like that's fine. There's other stuff going on in the world. But like I know I've gotten better at it. Again, like I've tried to like get better at communication. I know it's like a low suit for me, but like just trying to communicate people or keep up with people and that I'm trying to get better at. But again, it's also like they have to give back as well too. So it's a give and a take. The last thing to change my mind on was actually like commencement. Yeah, because I was all for like, oh, we're going to commencement Sunday and all that, and you come find out you don't even walk. It's like this is stupid. Okay, I'm not going to that. I'm just gonna do graduation on Saturday instead.
You don't walk on Sunday?
No, you don't. Yeah,
I walked.
Really?
Last year, yeah, I walked.
No, we don't walk at all. It tells you right in the thing, like you don't walk during like you don't. All right. You walk, but you're not individually recognized.
Oh,
And that.
that's interesting.
So
Yeah, they said my name, and then I walked up and grabbed the thing.
Really?
Sat down. Yeah.
No, it's
I
only.
also did that last year.
Yeah,
I walked
yeah.
as well, but I do think they're not doing this year. But I think I'm
Yeah.
walking as a master's student.
Yeah, so master students, PhD students get recognized because it's a smaller group, but like undergrads, like they're not recognized individually. That's based on like the schools themselves.
I think that's
That kind of sucks.
Yeah.
sucks.
Yeah.
I cared more about it as an undergrad. I don't care about it at all as a master's student.
I mean, if your family's coming, that's a wonderful thing to see.
Yeah.
Like, you know, get recognized, your name called, and you walk up, get your degree, and then sit down.
And they're the kind of what changed my mind too, because I was telling them about that, and they're like, I don't want to. We don't want to like go all the way up there to Syracuse and like not see you walk. Like that's dumb and like a waste of our time. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. So they're gonna come up Friday instead. And
You're right.
walk
Just hanging out with
Saturday.
me is not worth your time.
Yeah, like I mean, I'm just saying, like we probably won't even necessarily sit together. I don't know how they do the seating arrangements or anything like that, you know. So it's just like I'm gonna sit next to like some dude who I have no idea, you know.
Sit next to me and Jose, but okay.
That's true too, you know. The other thing too is like this is like another big thing is my brother sent me a thing is from like Kalashnikov, and it was a set of 3. It was like $3,000. You get an AK, you get a 9mm AK, and then you get like a shotgun. And I was gonna buy that, but I didn't pull the trigger, literally. So
Here in New York?
no, it was on. It's online. I was sent to Ohio. There's no way I would have got approved for that in New York.
Well, I really thank all of you for taking time out of your day. I know a lot of us are done with finals, but you still like getting ready for family coming,
Blessed.
just getting ready for commencement or getting ready for, you know, your life next. And, you know, Derek, I know you work an insane amount of hours.
Going to work right after this.
Yeah, research on changing the world.
Oh, I
Um,
wish.
But I'm proud of all you guys. I think we all have bright futures. And I'm really excited for all of us, wherever the road takes us. And we hope we all get better at keeping relationships warm so we can all stay in touch.
Hot tub warm.
Yeah,
Well, I hope to see you here next year, Rudy.
yeah.
Hell yeah.
It's a good chance. But I really appreciate all of you guys and thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
for having us.
Thank you.
This is fantastic.